Hey people, and welcome back to the vlog. This is episode 29, and for this episode I'm back at a casino. This time I will go to Aachen in Germany, and this casino is actually involved in a football stadium. Pretty cool. I try to get some footage for you guys, and yeah, they're playing a 2-4 game there. The minimum buy-in is €100 and the maximum buy-in is 1000. I guess I will be in for 500. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how the table dynamic is, and yeah, see you there. But first, do me a favor and click the small little red button under my video to subscribe under the channel. It would help me a lot, and if you enjoyed watching and like my videos, then please leave a like under my video as well. Comment down below if you want, I 100% respond, and yeah, let's go to the action. Wish us luck, see you at the tables, goodbye. So we arrive at the casino, sat down at the table, buying in for €500 this time. In this episode I try to be a little faster, keep things short, do things quick. I have the tendencies to talk a lot about the hands, but at least today I try not to. In the very first hand, before I even set down my phone, I get dealt pocket tens in a big blind. We are 8-handed and there's an under the gun open to 12. The cutoff calls and it folds to me, and I have a decision. Do I want to play aggressive this evening, or do I want to just call and see what develops at this new limit? I think aggression is the better option, and indeed I decide to 3-bet to 50 and both of my opponents fold. Nice start to the session again. Ten minutes later I pick up ace king of hearts in the under the gun position. I'm first to act, I raise to 12, the low jack behind me calls and it folds to the cutoff, who decides to 3-bet to 46. The button and the blinds fold and I'm next to act again. Since I'm out of position and the low jack still can act behind me and I don't want to give him a good price, I think a 4-bet is in order here, and that's what I do. I 4-bet to 140. The low jack, as expected, folds pretty quickly. The cutoff gives himself at least some seconds, but then decides to fold as well, and we scoop in this pot uncontested. Here we are in middle position and I look down at ace-10 offsuit. There's a limp before me and I raise to 20. It falls all the way around to the small blind who calls, and then the +1 limper decides to call as well, and we see a flop 3 raise of king 9-7 rainbow. I'm in position and they check to me, and on this board I could c-bet sometimes, but I decide to check as well, and we see a beautiful ace that completes the rainbow on the turn. They decide to check to me again, and of course now I want to bet for value. I bet 38 this time, but unfortunately both of my opponents fold. So far 3 for 3 for this session, but maybe you already get an idea of how tight this table was. In this one we are at the cutoff position. It folds to me and I look down at queen 9 offsuit. Since this table is so tight, I want to widen up my opening range, and to be honest, queen 9 looks kinda pretty, even in the offsuit variety. Anyway, I raise to 12 and only the small blind calls. We see a queen high flop with a couple of hearts, and after the small blind checks, I c-bet for 16, which he calls. The dealer rolls over an offsuit 7 on the turn and he checks to me again. Since obvious draws bricked on this turn card, I want to continue betting here and I size up to 40. Only a few seconds go by again and he calls again. We see the ace of spades on the river, and since he called twice, I get an idea that he may has a queen as well. This ace could be a scare card for him, but I don't see a reason to bluff here, so I check back and I announce that I have a queen. My opponent also announces that he has a queen and turns over king 9 offsuit. He obviously misread his hand, but fortunately for us we scoop in this pot with this marginal hand. Here we are in the small blind with king 8 of hearts. It folds around to the cutoff, who raises to 12, and the button don't want to play his hand, and I'm next to act. I don't think this hand is a good candidate to call here out of position, but you can mix in some 3-bets as a bluff. That's what I do, I 3-bet to 40. What I didn't know so far, that cutoff is the only player who likes to mix it up as well and is definitely on the loser side. So he calls and we see a flop of 7-6-5 rainbow. We hit an open-ended straight draw, but overall this board shouldn't be too good for our range. But if we hit our straight straight, it's kinda disguised. My opponent shouldn't think that I have a lot of 8s in my range. So I check to him. He bets 40 and obviously I call. We see another 5 on the turn. Very unfortunate. I check to my opponent again and he keeps betting, but he keeps it on the smaller side and bets 60. In my mind, that's a pretty fair price to draw to the straight, and I think a king might be good here as well. So I stick in 60 as well, and we see a river and the dealer rolls over the king of diamonds. So we hit top pair now, and most of the time I think we should be good here. Anyway, I decide to check to my opponent, choosing the lower variance route, and it seems like that was a mistake because he checks back. He shows us 9-7 offsuit, so we luckily win this hand, but what is even more important that we now know the cutoff is a very loose player, and also my image at the table should be very loose now. In the next one, we are in the small blind with ace-5 of spades. We see a low jack limp before the hijack raises to 12. It folds to me and I decide to call. I think that's the first mistake in the hand. I like a free bet or a fold more than a call. Anyway, the big blind calls and the low jack calls as well. So we go 4 ways to a flop of ace 9 3 rainbow. We all agree to check this flop. We see the 9 of diamonds on the turn, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. Since we are 4 ways, it's possible that one of my opponents has a 9 or maybe picked up a flush draw now. I decide to check, but the big blind now bets 20. The low jack behind him calls, but at least the hijack gets out of the way, and I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but I stick in 20 as well. We see an offsuit 4 on the river, which absolutely changes nothing, but I'm still afraid that some of my opponents could have a 9. I check, the big blind checks after some time, and he looks pretty weak. Now, the low jack decides to bet. He bets 44. I'm pretty sure the big blind has nothing, but is the low jack player really bluffing with a missed flush draw? I was pretty concerned, and after a small time I stick in 44 as well. The big blind gets out of the way and we get shown the bad news because my opponent shows us 9-7 of spades. On to the next one. "30 minutes go by until we pick up our next playable hand, and it's a premium. Pocket queens. We are under the gun position and I raise to 12. The +1 player calls. The small blind calls, and now it's the big blind's turn. He's a super nit, but he's also a short stack. He goes all in for 84 total. I don't want to give my opponents the chance to call and outdraw me on the flop, so I stick in the 4-bet to isolate. I 4-bet to 220. That doesn't matter because the other 2 players get out of the way and we are heads up to a board now. No more action. We decide to show our hands and he shows us ace king of hearts. The board comes 9-7-5. The turn brings a 6, but the river brings another 5 and we are good. Scoop in this nice little pot. We go card dead for 90 minutes straight. I'm so disappointed that I even put out the €8 straddle in the next hand. Obviously I'm under the gun and I have 10-9 offsuit. There's one limp and the hijack now raises to 28. 10-9 offsuit looks like a premium at this point to me and I defend my straddle. The limper calls as well and we go 3 ways to a flop of jack 7-4 all hearts. We have the 9 of hearts in our hand. We all agree to check this flop. We see a brick in form of the deuce of diamonds on the turn. Since both of my opponents check to me on the flop, I think I want to take a stab at this, and so I bet 50 with my gut shot and my 9 high flush draw. Not so much time goes by and both decide to fold and we finally take down another pot. I forgot to mention that I showed my hand at the end, trying to set up a loose image for myself, and maybe I will get rewarded within the next hour. Or maybe in the immediate hand after that. In the very next hand, we get dealt ace-king offsuit. There are 2 limps before the loose hijack player raises to 28. He seems kinda tilted to me. Obviously I put in the 3-bet here. I 3-bet to 74. It folds back to the hijack, who is a short stack by the way, who jams the rest of his stack in for 104 total. Of course I call and we see a runout, no more action. The board isn't favorable for us, the dealer rolls over 7, 8, deuce, the turn comes a 7 and the river comes another 7. So we're sitting here with ace high and our opponent shows us pocket 10s. Unfortunately we lose this one, but we can't win them all, right? And now, ladies and gentlemen, the hand of the session. All the loose play, showing some weird hands, trying to make a loose image of myself, comes down to these kind of hands when you pick up premium. Here we have pocket kings in the small blind. There's a straddle on in this hand, which is kinda nice, and it folds to the cutoff who raises to 28. Obviously I'm 3-betting here. This time I choose a sizing of 80. The big blind immediately goes into the tank and is struggling with himself. Like he doesn't know what to do, he's playing with his chips, counting them. At first it seemed pretty strong to me, he's a very tight player and I was kinda afraid that he had pocket aces. But then I recognize he's really uncomfortable. So at this point I think he has pocket queens or ace king suited, and it seems like he knows he has to 4-bet those kind of hands, but is kinda afraid to put the money in. After 2 minutes of tanking, he decides to jam all in for almost 500 euro total. All the other players decide to fold and it's back on me. At first I want a count, but to be honest it doesn't matter, I never fold kings here, especially when I have that kind of read, and yeah, I stick in the money. It's for 482 total and I have him covered, and we decide again to show our hands, and my read was correct, he shows us ace king of hearts, so we are in pretty good shape. Let's see a run out. The dealer burns and shows us jack 10-3 with 1 heart. So he has a gut shot to his overcard. The turn brings more help for him, it's the 4 of hearts. So any heart makes him the flush now as well, so he has many outs. And the river, please dealer, no! It's the ace of clubs. We lose this over 1000 euro pot because of the goddamn Barry Greenstein on the river. It is what it is, sometimes I feel pretty tilted after that hand and I'm short stacked. I'm already ready to rake up my 80 euro that I have left in my stack. But then we get dealt one more hand. I have jack 8 of hearts and we are only 5-handed in this hand. There's one limp and I raise to 16. The small blind and the limper decide to call and we see a very favorable flop of jack 6 deuce with 2 hearts. Obviously I c-bet this, I c-bet for 20. Only the small blind calls. We see an offsuit 7 on the turn and now the small blind donk leads. I only have 42 or something behind and I tell him if he wants to bet 42, my friend, and so he does. He bets 42, obviously I call and we see the 10 of diamonds on the river. I lose to 6-7 offsuit and now I'm officially tilted. I have some money left in my wallet, but I'm definitely not in the mood to play anymore. So we checked out and let's go to the session update. Yeah guys, what can I say? That was a brutal one. That king's hand broke our neck. I'm very tilted right now. That was an almost 1000 euro pot. And after that we lost that jack 8 of hearts hand as well, of course. Yeah, it is what it is. I was on a good upswing the last sessions, so this losing session had to come, I guess. And yes, I didn't want to rebuy, so I was in the game for 500 and out for 0. Taking the shot at 2-4 didn't went my way, but I will keep going, so see you in the next one. Have a good one and goodbye guys.